She's one of the most talented actresses in the world. She has co-authored a book called The Golden Hat, Talking Back to Autism. Please welcome Academy Award winner, the lovely Kate Winslet.
Sorry, can you just do that again?
Yes, no.
God, how wonderful.
Now, Kate, it seems like you're always working. How do you schedule the kids, family time? I mean, is that something that's always...
It's all an illusion. No, no, it often does seem like that, actually, I think, from the outside looking in, you know, when suddenly there's a movie coming out and then there's a 5-part TV show on HBO coming out and there's a bit I did in another movie that comes out 3 weeks later. And actually, sometimes that work is spread over a 2-year period. So I am really, really lucky that I actually don't work that much. I try and do 1, maybe 2 things absolutely a year. So I'm largely actually at home with the children. And if I'm not at home with the children, they're with me wherever I am.
I would think that that would be the downside of acting. You know, the production is probably not that long, and you're enjoying the work, but then months later you have to go out and promote it and fly from here to here to here to here.
Yeah, I mean, it's always such a pleasure, you know, to talk about something that you have worked very hard on and care very much about. But it is also, yeah, it's a big juggle and a big challenge and stretch, and it's a separate job as well in a way too. You know, when you're on a film set, you're acting. That's my job. You know, when you're actually out there selling it, you suddenly have to put the kind of famous person hat on, and it's always slightly odd because it's sort of back to front with how I actually lead my own life.
Right.
And so, you know, even doing the press, I'm almost playing a part in a way, it feels like sometimes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, your daughter, who is 8, or...
She's 11.
Your daughter's 11.
Yep. And my son is 8.
And your son is 8. Now, your daughter was just in a school play, and I heard you did something quite funny to release the tension afterwards.
Oh, yes. She was terrifyingly good, actually, in her school play.
Oh, that's great. Oh, thank God. Can you imagine?
It was, I mean, seriously... We sat there just kind of going, oh no, she's a really good actress. Oh no.
Right.
Like, watch this space, my goodness me. But she was quite nervous, and she kept saying to me, Mummy, I've got this excited, kind of happy, nervous kind of a feeling, which scared me even more, because that's a genuine...
That's the feeling
yeah.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh, okay, darling, don't worry, you'll be absolutely fine. Off you go, like this, you know. And afterwards, yeah, we were just so proud of her, and we got into the car, and I said, okay, for the next 5 minutes, everyone's got to make as much noise as possible.
Right.
And so yelling and screaming, literally banging the windows, and
that's great.
Radio on full
What
blast.
about your son? Does he have that bug as well? Do you see any aspects of
not
it?
really, not yet, not yet. He's extremely sporty, Joe, and he also loves drawing and art. He's very, very, very artistic.
His name is Joe. That's
Joe,
a great
just
name.
Joe.
That's
Yeah.
a great name.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a very sweet name. They're both fantastic kids. I'm really lucky.
Now, Kate, in Mildred Pierce, you did a lot of baking in that. That was obviously research you did for the role. Did you incorporate baking into your life after Mildred Pierce?
I'm an instinctive baker. No, no. I mean, I'm lucky that I love food, and I've always been around it and raised with it, and it's a big part of my life. So, so I do actually know how to cook. But I really did enjoy very much that process of the baking and learning really what to do with pie crusts and so on. I mean, it was a real education, and I was taught actually how to properly section up a chicken, which I didn't know before.
No
and
kidding.
I was taught by, and I haven't had an opportunity to say this, I was actually taught by Tom Colicchio. He very, 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 very kindly
Taught you how to section a chicken?
Yeah.
All right, more with Kate in a moment.
We're back with the Academy Award winner, Kate Winslet. Here's my favorite story that came out of the entire last summer. You saved Richard Branson's mom from a terrible fire. And I just think it was so amazing. It's my favorite story.
I love the fact I really do seem to be this incredible heroine.
You
Gosh,
are.
there's the footage. Oh, my
Yeah,
goodness.
there's the footage.
And that's Necker Island, which I've been to, and I was so devastated to see this happen. My
It
God.
actually really, honestly, it really does something to me just to see that little bit of footage. And I have a lot of footage actually on my iPad, which nobody else grabbed, because I managed to grab my handbag, Granny, and the children. Neglected to put on a bra myself.
Right, there you go.
That's okay.
The rest of the holiday, completely braless. It was not good at all. I mean, girls, you'd know what I'm talking about. But no, I did. I was in the right place at the right time, and I genuinely, I helped her to get out faster. Is what
What happened? Did they ever find out what caused the fire?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that the outcome was that there's a flagpole on the top of the main house, and it was the beginning of Hurricane Irene, and it was struck by lightning.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh!
And it set the house on fire. It really, it's the one occasion when I would say actually the press probably didn't really know the full extent of it. It was genuinely terrifying. And if one of Richard's nephews, Jack, hadn't woken up and heard this banging sound, which was the windows exploding, he raised the alarm, or if the wind had been blowing in another direction, our rooms could have filled with smoke, and who knows. But we really honestly did wake up with maybe about 4 minutes of getting out.
Oh my gosh!
We were very, 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 very lucky, and nobody was hurt. Nobody was hurt, apart from Richard, who woke up, saw he was staying in a slightly separate building, and so he saw out the window this house with his daughter Holly, who was in there as well, and all of us, and his family were all there, and he got up and ran naked straight into a cactus.
Oh my!
So he was. And he got a huge cactus needle, right into his thigh.
Well, he's lucky it was in his thigh.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Actually, I think no, I'm kidding.
Braless, you, naked Richard?
I know.
This is nuts.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Can you imagine, though? It must have been like at a certain point, you're like, your training from Titanic came in handy, and you're like, all right, this is what happens now.
Honestly, I'm deadly serious. I really did think to myself, someone's going to say cut in a minute, someone's going to say cut.
Right, exactly.
No one's saying cut. Oh my God, no one's saying cut. But the wind machine's really strong. And the rain, that rain is going to look so fake because I've like way too much of it. And this fire, it's so real. It's so I really did. It did go through my mind. I'm actually not in a movie. This is really happening.
I want to make one suggestion. I think Sir Richard, should erect a statue of you, because you are the hero of Necker Island.
Yes.
I'm not the hero.
A braless statue.
A braless. That's it.
You're running with Granny and your iPad.
Hero or not, I want that statue.
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
All right, we're going to find out what your daughter said to you that made you so determined to work on the Golden Hat right when we come back with Kate Winslet.
Academy Award-winning actress and superhero, as we determined during the commercial break. So tell us about the Golden Hat, talking back to autism. Tell us how you became involved with this project, and tell us exactly what your daughter said, because it sort of made me cry when I was listening to Joni tell me the whole story.
Okay, well, how long do we have?
Well, we have as long as you want.
I don't believe you. What happened was, it was the summer of 2009, and I was in England with my family, and I was sent a DVD called The Sunshine Boy. It's actually now, it's an Icelandic documentary. It's now called A Mother's Courage. And I was being asked to provide the English language narration for this documentary so that it could get international distribution. So I sat down with my daughter Mia, and we watched it together. And it's really the story of one Icelandic mother, Margaret Eric's daughter. It's her journey to basically unlock and discover her son, who at the time was 11 years old. He's now 14. She had been told he's non-verbal autistic, and she had been told by every expert under the sun that he had the mentally retarded age of a 2-year-old and that he should be put into an institution. And by and large, she believed what she was being told, although refused to institutionalize him, obviously. And through the course of the documentary, she stumbles across a clinic in Austin, Texas, that had developed a communication technique for non-verbal autistic children, which seems to work. And she unlocked her child.
Wow.
And the first thing that he still can't speak, but he's been taught how to type with the use of a letterboard, which will progress into computer keyboard. But the first thing that he communicated was, "I am real."
Oh my gosh, wow.
And I sat there with my daughter Mia, and she just grabbed my hand, she turned to me and she said, Mummy, can you imagine if I couldn't tell you that I love you? And I thought, no, I actually can't imagine that. And so, of course, I said, yes, I will lend my voice and narrate this documentary. I, didn't think twice about it. But then I did the recording. I met Margaret, the mother who I mentioned before. We became very, very close friends. And I went home on the train, and I just had this feeling of, that's not enough. That can't be it. I can't just have given my voice. Oh, clever me. What's that about? So I just stayed in touch with Margaret, and then one day, again in 2009, I had this idea to take a hat of mine, and I was piecing together this idea as I'm brushing my teeth. Take a hat, okay, get lots of very well-known people to photograph themselves wearing the hat, and then to tell us something, to say something that they would say if they themselves were non-verbal, but if they had a hat that gave them the opportunity to speak, what would that one thing be that they would choose to say? To try and bridge the gap between the world of the very verbal and the non-verbal. Yeah. So I took my hat and I just set off on this mission really very much on my own, because I don't actually know that many famous people. I know that might sound strange. I know people to say hi to, and we would bump into each other and say, oh, hey, how you doing? But not really lots and lots of friends. So by kind of bribing lots of people and asking for favors, I got people's email addresses or assistants or managers' emails address, and I sent out an ask letter basically explaining what I was trying to do, to put together this book, to raise money, maybe, raise awareness, maybe. I really didn't know where I was going with it, but I did know that I just had to try and do something. So at the same time as me simultaneously having this idea about the hat, I wrote to Margaret and I said, I've got this idea, described it to her, and she said, okay, this is so strange, because Kelly, her son, who had been communicating by that point for about 6 months, had, on the same day that I'd had this idea, written a poem called The Golden Hat, which I'm going to read to you right now. Gosh. On the same, this was a complete coincidence. We're still actually quite freaked out by this. This boy is called The Golden Hat. This boy had a golden hat. The hat was magical. It could talk. The boy did not have any voice. He had autism. His hat was always with him. His hat was lost one day. Now he had no way of telling them his stories. His mum and dad became sad. They taught him spelling on a letterboard. It was hard. End. And so...
It's unbelievable to me that this is a boy they said needed to be institutionalized.
Absolutely.
And that he had this ability to say, I am real.
But this is the thing, Kelly, is that, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, and I don't have the answers and I don't have a cure, but I am a mother. Yeah. And I know, in the same way that you do, and any parent knows, that all you want for your children is for them to have that basic human right to expression, to express themselves. Yeah. And this is the common misconception, it seems to me, about autistic individuals, especially non-verbal autistic individuals, is that they have normal intelligence, if not higher IQs than all three of us sitting here put together.
Oh, definitely me.
And they have the capacity, and probably me, they have the capacity to dream and to think and to love and to express themselves, and it's up to us, actually. It's up to us to help them find that way of communicating so that they can realise their dreams.
Wow.
And so our long-term goal...
I want to put this on.
Please do.
Kate, it's touching. You really are a very special woman, and you actually did something. You took action.
Listen, you have no idea. The DNA inside this hat, and the number of times I've oh my God, where's the hat? Where's the hat? Where's the hat? I've lost the hat. There is serious DNA inside this hat, I'm telling you.
Golden
So you
hat.
must go buy the book.
Go buy the book. The Golden Hat is on sale now. For more information,